Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about achieving vast ROI with continuous innovation. Welcome to Invincible Innovation Live show. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Mazor, Kario, innovation and value creation expert, and I'll be your host. And today with me, I'm so happy to have Noam Danon, Qmarkets CEO. Great to see you, Noam.
Hi, Adi. Great to be here.
Sure, and we're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and you're much invited to join the discussion and ask questions. And it will be very lovely to hear what you think. So, no, we're going to start. Most leaders are not satisfied with their innovation results. How could companies innovate better, and how could Q markets help them innovate better?
Um, well, innovation, I think, is a state of mind and very much associated with the company's culture. So, from what we see, being most successful is that innovation needs to cover all parts of the business. So it's not something that should be dedicated to, technological innovation, which is in most people's eyes what the first thing they think about. But you have process innovation, you have marketing innovation, you can innovate drastically around services without a single bit of technology. And of course, once you add, digital aspects into any one of these, then innovation becomes, a very, very big part of the business. And in order to, really make it happen, then the company and management, they need to encourage the innovation culture. So this means, first of all, making it clear that it's a priority, and this has to come, from very senior level. Second, they need to reward it, and rewarding it means you don't only reward success, and I think that's the main, that's the first obstacles for companies where they're used to thinking, if we do X, it must work, it must provide value, and if you want to innovate, you need to understand that sometimes you'll get it wrong and sometimes you'll fail, and it's part of the process. And people need to be okay with letting new innovative ideas and new innovative directions not always succeed. Now, the next level is that you need to manage it. Innovation will just, it won't just happen. It's something that
Yeah.
you need to cultivate and you need to build, which is, why they call it innovation management, which
Yeah.
seems like a mistake in the beginning, but you really need to manage it. Uh, so that means you need to assign, first of all, you need to assign ownership clearly. So there has to be clear leadership of innovation inside the company. On the other side, it has to be clear that it's not that person's role to innovate. It's everyone's role to innovate, and that person is a facilitator and an owner and everything. But all units, all departments, everyone have to innovate. And I think the last element is that if you really want to do it successfully, you need to scale it. You need to make it across the organization, across the different silos in the organization. And actually, this is where Qmarkets fits in. So we have a very powerful innovation management platform software that offers companies a good way to scale their innovation activities, really reach out to all the different stakeholders, whether it's their employees, their customers, their partners, and the entire innovation ecosystem around them, and really manage this process end to end. Run large scale online brainstorms that are called idea challenges in order to find really innovative ideas. And this is what we've been doing in the past actually 10 years plus with very large number of customers globally.
Yeah. So it seems like 10 years ago it was not that known. And
Yeah.
could you tell us about the beginning when you just started building this innovation management platform before people really talked about it and knew as much as they know today?
Yeah, so you're right. The early days were more challenging. Speaking 12, 13 years ago to people about managing innovation sounded weird to many managers. Opening up the silos and kind of flattening the organization, allowing everyone to participate in innovation was also a little bit unusual. So the stuff we're used to today, everyone's engaged, everyone is expecting to be involved in all the different aspects of the company. 10, 12 years ago, this was a little bit unusual. So this is why I think it required more breakthrough companies and leading companies with a leading culture to actually adopt it. And I'm happy to say that we actually have a few customers that are still with us for the past 8, 9 years, continuously. Companies like Swiss Post, for example, it is an extremely innovative organization.
Really? It doesn't sound like the first, like Swiss Post would not be the first one that I would think about, right?
Yeah, it's they're not your classical postal office. So it's a massive organization. They have more than 60,000 employees,
Wow.
and they're doing practically everything on top of course, delivering post. So it's a very, very innovative organization, and we have a lot of different examples from, many different industries, whether it's, companies like Ford in manufacturing and automotive, and we have banks and financial institutions like UBS and UniCredit that also have been with us for a lot of years. And the interesting thing is that each one of them is taking it to their own direction. Some are more focused on service. Okay, how can we improve our service? How can we learn from successful initiatives that are happening locally when we're such a global organization, and how can we adopt this at the corporate level? Some are taking it to bringing in technology to improve their internal processes, like manufacturing improvements and other aspects. And of course, some are taking this to the hardcore of classic innovation and new products, new technologies. So it's really a very nice mix.
So could you tell me if you need to split them into domains, what would be different in a manufacturer doing innovation and a B2C company, for example? Would it be like, could you divide it this way or not? It depends on the company.
So surprisingly, I mean, most companies typically like to look at their peers and see, okay, so what are they doing? But surprisingly, what we see that has the biggest impact on how companies innovate is actually their culture. So I can give examples of a massive bank and a high-tech technology company that are actually very similar in how they innovate on completely different topics. So the topics, of course, are different, but their methodology, how they engage their employees around it, how they build the right culture and process around it. These things are actually not necessarily related to the industry. And there's also, of course, the geographical culture. So organizations, in Germany and Switzerland will probably have slightly different cultures than the ones in the US. And Israeli corporates have also a very different unique culture, exactly. So it really is a wide range. And the cool thing in what we do is that we've developed this expertise in working with the customer to look at their challenges and their culture and offer them like an ideal solution that covers their entire innovation life cycle, but fits their culture. And even more important, helps them to evolve that culture. So they all have a starting point, and from there they need to evolve. And what we do best is we offer our customers to really start small and then gradually add more and more capabilities, gradually add more and more complications and specialties into your process as your organization is willing to accept them. And this is a really important aspect for success as well. So don't go too far too fast. The organization has to accept it, and this takes time.
Yeah, it's like maturing the organization and the culture of the organization. And how do you see it more like this is a tool that helps them be more innovative and really establish a culture of innovation? But after all, culture is built from people, right? From these people. Is it like the leaders, the innovation, who is responsible for innovation? Like, how do you know that a company is in the right way to be more innovative? Because you have a tool and they can use it, of course, as they see, and how do you know it's going to be a successful one? And do you have the numbers even?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, we make an effort to help them make it a success. So we don't just provide a software tool, we provide all the necessary best practices. So our customer success team, first of all, will work with the customer to first learn what they have, what are their current challenges, what have they tried in the past, and maybe it was not so successful. A lot of our customers have good and bad experience with various innovation initiatives, various using DIY tools or small scale tools, and we are really good at looking at what they've done, what worked and what hasn't worked, and then sharing with them, best practices from other companies similar to their culture, hopefully also similar to their industry, and really to guide them in that process. And in many cases, we see that when the customer first comes to us, they have a very clear notion as to what they want, and then we're more than happy to facilitate that, configure the platform to work the way they want, and that's not a problem with adding our tips and tricks into it. And in other cases, we see a customer that comes to us and says, okay, look, we're really getting started. We just need something that will allow us to get started. And there we have our kind of best practice where we come in and we can very quickly allow the customer to start. And then we learn together, because every organization is eventually different. So we kind of walk this process, and the company needs to, managers need to understand that this will take time, especially in a global, more old-fashioned organization, which is most of our customers. So most of our customers are coming from traditional industries, government, manufacturing, services, finance. This is most of our customers. We have very few high-tech companies. And it takes time, and it's a gradual process.
It really makes sense that the more traditional companies are seeking innovation, because high tech, they will not understand exactly what they're doing is innovative from the beginning, and they were born digital and innovative. So for them, if they are very, very big, maybe, but most companies in Israel, even the big one, are not as big as the European traditional establishment or a US, major company. And
it goes back to the state of mind thing. So the high tech companies have it kind of built into the state of mind of almost everyone, which is something that others need to build.
Yeah. When like 20 years of my work was with high tech and big and startups. And for me, just to understand what is innovation in the beginning was a bit weird, because it was like obvious. And then I said, okay, so it's like, fish in the water, like it's like transparent. And then you understand it's not out there as much, and it needs to be learned.
And
Yeah. And now we're like in the middle of the COVID crisis. and many things are changing. And I know that the budgets for innovation sometimes are changing, and companies are going back to what they know and how the ways they know to how to make money. So what are the challenges that innovation leaders are facing right now?
So I think the COVID kind of created a paradox for many innovation leaders. So on one hand, it's everything's changing, everything's risky, and the immediate instinct is to hold back, cut down, and wait for it to pass. While others, and we're seeing this all over, I think, on the news, and of course we're seeing it from our customers, say, okay, so this is actually an opportunity. New opportunities are coming. The world is changing, also taking away some of the old opportunities, and we really see this paradox. So, is this the best time to innovate, or is this the best time to hold on? And what we are seeing from many of our customers, and again, examples are around us everywhere. If you look at any industry, you look at retail, you look at healthcare, you look at any kind of services company, they all had to go through massive changes, and many of these changes will last long time after COVID is gone. So we just discussed this earlier, that we are people are more on Zoom every day now than
Yeah,
we have anything else.
right.
So these things will stay, and so from our side, we see a lot of good opportunities and even better opportunities. And one thing that, for example, changed is everyone working remotely. Right? It's
Sure.
what was once something for very specific tech oriented, etc. Now everyone is allowing that, and that also creates an obstacle for many organizations. So the old ways to innovate, you can't put everyone in the room right now and brainstorm. And this is again where tools like the Qmarkets tool that allows you to open up an idea challenge to a wide audience, and engage them, and they're actually now more open for that, because everyone's used to this kind of remote concept, and everyone also is looking for a sense of belonging, and participating in large-scale innovation initiatives that the company is doing through collaboration, etc., also helps to enforce that. So we see people are actually much more willing to engage around these
Yeah.
times. So we've actually seen this year as an acceleration in most. Of course, a lot of companies had to cut back, but in the overall, we're just seeing it accelerate.
So what you're saying is when you meet these people who are your clients, and not only the clients, the end users of the system, they need to handle these two parts. One is like you need to show, you have a pressure to show more revenue, and you have a pressure to engage people and innovate faster.
Yeah.
And now it's time for them to show, like, maybe do even more. And because everyone is online, they might, maybe from different locations, they don't need to fly them to the room and do it together. It's like obvious they can do it faster in a sense.
Exactly. So it's things that would have been perhaps strange for some companies, again, just a year ago. So how come are we opening this to such a wide audience, or why is it not again a meeting and let's proceed with that? Now again, it's a different dynamics, and using these online smart collaboration tools that allow to efficiently innovate and efficiently take 500 or 5,000 or 50,000 participants and have them on an online channel, a challenge, and actually get to results. this is what we see now is the best opportunity.
Yeah, when I think of change, it seems like you could try to persuade people, maybe even the sales call in a sense. You need to explain why change is happening, and maybe you will tell them the stories I know about, I know, Nokia or Blockbusters, whoever you want to tell the story
Yeah,
about. But now it's like they know that there is change, and it's fast and it's unknown, and you could not know it in advance, and it will impact everyone globally really, really vastly. And you feel it in a visceral sense because you feel it in your own experience. It's not a
yeah.
story that I'm telling you.
Hmm.
So I think that maybe not right now, but maybe in the next few years, you'll see more and more people willing to take the unknown path of innovation, because this is what is needed and this is what's happening actually.
Yeah, absolutely. We've even adopted it inside Qmarkets. So we've also needed to address change, even though we're not a massive corporate, with 60 people globally. But we've also had to adapt, and it was this past year's been challenging, but it's actually been a very fruitful year, because we took on this challenge, like you said, and we saw everything changing around us, and it was just clear that things will not go back to being the same, and there's actually a massive opportunity here, uh,
Yeah.
as we see organizations just really desperate to innovate. So yeah, this is exactly the right time.
Yeah. Do you see it's like going to a different direction, used more to a specific tool or a specific feature or capability that is needed more right now? Maybe more new products, new services, and less, I don't know, something else? Or it's the same?
Yeah, so I think the first immediate one were challenges that I think practically all our customers ran, and many of the newcomers that came to us this year were actually seeking for that. First of all, is how do we deal with the new COVID? So first of all, how do we deal with the immediate impact? So that's more of I would say, a defensive approach. So it could be, electricity company with a wide challenge to all of their employees out there. How can we help you continue doing your job with all these limitations? Okay.
Mhm.
Um, and it could be a massive manufacturing customer in Europe that actually took on the challenge and says, okay, we actually have the right technology in our manufacturing to deliver the new needs of other factories right now around COVID. So whether it's masks or various protection mechanisms, or various ways to slice the factory up so more people can come and work in small teams, etc. And they actually took this as a wide challenge with their global team, and came up with some incredible results, incredible ideas that were already actually implemented quite quickly.
Yeah.
Uh, so you had that, and on the uh, very other far end of the spectrum, we had projects like um, government healthcare actually here in Israel, where the Ministry of Health and hospitals came together and said, okay, we have joint challenges. We're all looking for kind of the same things, the same solutions. Let's join forces and work with the startup community as one entity. And it was actually one of the few times I think that they were all working together for a few months to kind of concentrate. These are right now our main challenges. This is what the country right now needs. And startups and technology firms came with solutions, and this formed kind of an online marketplace that was able to connect these two big communities. So it's not even a single company that came together and used it. It's more like a wider marketplace that provided, again, excellent solutions for immediate COVID needs.
Yeah, it's a great story. I never thought that like we have so much innovation and startups in Israel, and it seems like it's all separate from what's going on with with the government, with the older establishments, with health for sure is not considered an innovative sector. So I'm so happy that this happened due to this tragedy after all. So what is the most surprising thing you learned about innovation after all your years of experience?
So I think the surprising things is that I think we found first of all that innovation happens in the most unusual places, like you said in the beginning. So postal office organization, we have an unemployment agency of one of the largest countries in Europe as our customer,
Wow.
1,000 employees, and that's
Surprising.
definitely not the place
No.
to find
Yeah.
innovation.
I would say government in general would not be the first thing that I would consider as a client.
But actually, I think it's the most growing sector in innovation right now.
Wow.
And that's I would say a very, very positive surprise. So we're seeing a
It is a
massive wave.
surprise.
Yeah, we're seeing a massive wave, and I'm not talking about one country specific. We're actually in government RFPs right now all over the world, in Australia, in the US, in Europe, and even with our with our new friends in UAE. So we're really seeing this globally, and this is really, really exciting to see. So when I started Qmarkets and we set out to open up innovation initiatives in large corporates, I actually also didn't think that government would be such an exciting area, and there's so much happening there, and there's so many easy opportunities for them to innovate once they just open that state of mind and open the organization to really engage all of the employees, for example, or open the organization externally, and think about ideas together, and be able to also share best practices across the organizations. And this is something that I see as very
Wow.
promising and encouraging.
And it's so surprising, if you would have asked me, like in general, what I believe, I would say that the second option that will never innovate, it will be government. And the first one I would say is military. That's a place that I would never imagine someone doing anything innovative other than, like growing weapons. I know, like, what are they doing?
Yeah, so there are actually wonderful examples also in military, security, defense organizations that unfortunately I cannot share, but there's exciting stuff happening there as well. Another surprising thing I think we've learned is that I think what was surprising there is actually the magnitude, not the actual concept, is how much is already happening inside organizations, and because of all the silos, they don't know. So we have like very great examples from pharma, from chemicals, where once they launched a wide-scale initiative of innovation that's covering bigger parts of the company, and they're suddenly starting to engage globally, they suddenly identified areas of expertise that they did not even know existed.
It's so
Or
funny.
they
They don't
realized
know.
that two factories of the same organization are trying to get FDA approval for practically the same thing. One succeeded, one did not. because they took different paths. And what a platform like the Qmarkets platform offers customers is really that ability to identify similar things that are happening across the organization, really reaching out to and identifying expertise that exists within the company and bringing all those experts into one place and really diving into solving the challenges together in the most effective and efficient way.
Yeah. You know, when I try to think, why did I think that these like two entities would not innovate? And the first thing that's come to my mind is who is competing with the government, who is competing with the military. Like in Israel, you know, it's mandatory to go to the army, and you cannot say their service is not that good. I would go to the next army, which is might be better, right? So so it's really surprising that still they are aimed to do things better and to
So,
grow and
they're
to
under,
learn.
yeah, they're under the same pressure. So you're right, they don't have direct competition, but they need to be efficient. And this is where digital and innovation initiatives are all across government. Um, they do need to be competitive for their employees. Okay, so they are fighting for talent and creating a culture of innovation and allowing people to participate not only in my day-to-day job but in something wider is something that's really helpful.
Yeah,
Uh, so
it
that's
makes sense
very relevant.
that when you say it, it makes sense that if you want to be compelling to people who are more proactive or people who are more creative, who want to
Mhm.
influence, you cannot stay the same all the time because these people would say this is not a place for me. It's like it's too stable and too one way. Like I cannot do anything. I'll be a cog in this machine for the
Mhm.
rest of my life, right?
Yeah,
So it's another aspect of innovation when you're seeing the organization as trying to reach the more innovative people to be part of what you're doing.
exactly.
Yeah. So what's your number one tip for innovation leaders?
So I think if we talk about the number one or the top three tips, I would say, then first of all, I think is you need to start small and grow, especially in a large company. And we see this many organizations are struggling and kind of concerned. Where do we start? And are actually sometimes trying to start too big or not start at all. So the first thing is start. Take one business unit, take one or two specific challenges, find a real sponsor inside the company that you can work with, someone that has a real challenge, and literally within a few months you can get from we have a challenge to getting some very innovative and successful ideas and getting to them to implementation. Um, and you need to, of course, pick the right topics. So part of what starting small means, pick quick wins. You need to convince yourself and the organization that the concept is working. And breakthrough innovation comes once every few years in a company if they're successful in innovating.
Yeah.
But incremental innovation is what eventually will fuel the company's growth. So I think the second tip I can think of is to not reinvent the wheel. So take a proven methodology, take a proven tool with all the best practices, and start with what has worked very well for others, with some small adaptations to your organization. Take the expert advice, experiment, and take it from there. So it's okay to not not succeed at once completely, but it's also, I think, important not to overplan it. You need to experience it, and you need to start.
Yeah. So you know the name of our discussion is to create vast innovation ROI, right? And when people think about innovation first, as you said, it's like risky, and and most people say it's not successful, and leaders are not satisfied with the result most of the cases. So if they do these small steps and continue with it, is it like the needed conditions to get to this vast innovation ROI as you see it?
Yes, I think I think that's definitely the approach. You need to back it up, like I said in the beginning, with management sponsorship. So it has to come from very senior management. It doesn't have to come necessarily right from the top, like from the CEO, although it helps. But it has to come from the top of the organization that's innovating, which means that if you want to limit it to just one business unit, then it's fine that it will come from senior leadership in that unit. But if you want to engage the entire organization, it has to come from higher up. And I think the other thing to take into account here is that for this to be successful, then it's not just about, of course, discovering the ideas. You need to, first of all, really define well what are your challenges, what are your opportunities, and have this strategic thinking in the beginning, and focus your innovation initiatives on those specific challenges. So this will make sure that you're solving problems that are actually need solving, and that there's actually management attention to adopt and implement the ideas that will come out of this process.
Yeah.
And that's really a mandatory thing. We always tell our customers, don't start a challenge unless you know that you will have the right resources and attention to actually review and evaluate what's coming out of it, and actually walk it all the way to implementation. And for us, it's important that our customers use our platform for an end-to-end, meaning not just the ideation itself, but also the evaluation and the implementation. Because without showing ROI for this, it won't last for a long term.
Yeah, I'm sure, because in the end they said, okay, we have all these great ideas and people are very engaged, but in the end we have the bottom line, and you want to show that, like, after all, it's like two-sided. One is top down, as you said. It needs to be bottom up too, because you need to see from the field, from the results, from the business, from the customers, to get the feedback on that direction.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's hard to show it, because, as we said, you could make lots of options, and only a few of them would really grow to something substantial and really get the ROI back. And it demands from the companies to see themselves a bit as VCs in these cases. Like, we're investing and we're distributing our money in places, and some of these will grow and some of it will not, and it's okay. And it's really different than what you're doing right now, right? It depends.
Exactly.
Okay, so I want to thank you for your time. It's passed so fast, and I have like another additional question. We could do another hour more in there. So how could people hear more from you and about your work, and contact you about Qmarkets?
So our website is filled with very useful information. You can just look up Qmarkets. There's lots of case studies from customers, examples, success stories, and our experts will be happy to talk to you and consult and see how can we help based on our experience.
Sure. So it's qmarkets.com.
It's Qmarkets.net actually, but .com.
.net. Oh.
I fell in love with Qmarkets a long time ago with the name.
Okay, so it's good that we said. So I want to thank you again for your time. It's been so valuable and inspiring for me. So thank you, Noam.
Thank you for your time as well. Appreciated being invited.
Sure. And to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining us. And you're much invited to visit invincibleinnovation.com. And I'll see you next week. So have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.